Okay, let's dive in. Have you ever had that feeling, where you're genuinely putting in the work, like really trying, reading, learning, doing all the things?
Yeah.
But somehow you just keep hitting the same wall. It's like, despite all that effort, the progress just feels, well, honestly, frustratingly slow.
Oh, absolutely.
And you're left kind of wondering, why am I not further along? What's holding me back?
That is such a common place to be, I think, especially right now. I mean, the world in 2025 doesn't exactly pause for breath, does it?
Not at all. It feels like it's accelerating, if anything.
Right. There's just this constant change, constant distraction, constant pressure. And if you're trying to navigate all of that with, let's say, reflexes or mental habits that you developed maybe for a different time.
Like when things felt a bit more stable.
Or predictable.
Exactly. When things felt maybe more predictable, you might not just be struggling to keep up. You could actually inadvertently be working against your own momentum. It's like you're paddling upstream without realizing the current changed. And that right there, that's precisely what we want to unpack today. Because this isn't really about needing more grit or just gritting your teeth and pushing harder. That's often the default, isn't it?
It is. Just double down.
Yeah, just push through. But maybe the answer lies somewhere else. It's about understanding that the real leverage point, the place where real lasting change actually happens. It's internal. It's about how you respond.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to explore some really powerful insight today. Mindless ideas really that show how the obstacles you face, those walls you keep hitting, they aren't just roadblocks to be, bashed down or gotten around.
Okay.
They can genuinely be transformed, turned into fuel, into direction. So the mission here really is to uncover some practical ways you can fundamentally shift your perspective, shift your actions. It's like giving your internal operating system an update.
An update built for now.
Yeah.
For today's speed and complexity.
Precisely. Built for 2025.
So think of it like building resilience, but not just, in spite of the challenges you face, but actually because of them. Because that thing that stands in your way, that obstacle, well, maybe that actually becomes the way forward.
It's a fascinating idea, isn't it? And what's so interesting is how counterintuitive it can feel at first.
Definitely.
I mean, think about it. You face a setback, a real difficulty. What's the immediate, almost automatic response for most of us?
Frustration, fear, maybe wanting to just give up for a minute.
Exactly. Frustration, fear, resistance. It's almost like this default wiring in our brains that just slams on the brakes. Problem detected, halt.
Right. You hit that snag and boom, the brain goes, problem, stop, danger.
So how do you override that initial powerful reflex?
Well, one really powerful concept to start with is cultivating something. You might call it emotional sobriety.
Emotional sobriety. Okay, tell me more about that. It's not about suppressing your feelings, not at all. It's not about pretending you're not frustrated or scared. It's more about creating a critical space, like a little buffer zone.
A space between what happens and how you react.
Exactly that. A space between the event, the setback, the bad news, whatever it is, and your reaction to it. So instead of immediately identifying with that wave of frustration or fear, like I am frustrated, you kind of step back and observe it.
Okay, so you notice it. Oh, there's frustration.
Yes, you notice it, you pause. And that pause, even if it's just for, a few deep breaths, that tiny pause opens the door to a conscious choice. It breaks the automatic circuit.
And that choice is?
It allows you to ask a different question. Instead of, why me, or this is terrible, you can ask, okay, is this situation truly stopping my core goal, my ultimate intention? Or is it just blocking the specific action I was planning to take right now?
That's a key distinction, isn't it? The big picture versus the immediate step.
Huge distinction. And this is where you start to actually turn the obstacle. You shift your perspective from, why is this awful thing happening to me? Which is, a victim stance.
Yeah, it feels powerless.
Right. And you shift towards, okay, given that this is happening, how can I potentially convert this impediment, this block, into something that actually serves my purpose? What opportunity, or maybe what new path might this unexpected situation be revealing?
It reminds me of that idea of being the thermostat, not the thermometer. You're not just reflecting the temperature of the room, you're setting it.
That's a great analogy. It's the difference between being, say, a passenger just getting tossed around by events and being the pilot who sees the turbulence and actively course corrects, maybe even using the wind shift to their advantage.
So how do you practice that? It sounds good in theory, but in the moment.
Yeah, practice is key. The insights we're drawing on suggest tangible ways, like maybe implementing a quick 3-breath check-in before you respond to bad news or a critical email. Just pause, breathe 3 times, then react.
Okay. Simple but potentially powerful.
Or maybe actively journaling about setbacks, but not just venting about them as problems. Frame it differently. Treat them as puzzles. How can I solve this for an advantage? What's the hidden opportunity here?
I like that puzzle framing. It shifts it from something negative to something challenging, something to engage with. You know, it makes me think of someone like, well, Elon Musk comes to mind. He seems to constantly face what look like absolutely impossible problems, right? Supply chains, rockets exploding.
Yeah, the scale is immense.
But his whole approach, his public framing anyway, seems to be that these aren't just disasters, they're necessary steps. They're part of a complex, iterative process. He seems to use the difficulty itself as feedback.
That's a perfect example. Using the difficulty as essential data, as part of iterating towards the solution. That perspective, that reframing, is incredibly powerful, especially in a world that feels as volatile as ours does now.
So reframing the reaction, finding the space. What else?
Another key element that comes up is mental preparation, proactive preparation. You see, many people are simply reacting to the pace of 2025. They're constantly on the back foot.
Just dealing with whatever comes up moment to moment, firefighting.
Exactly, firefighting mode. But what if you consciously anticipate potential challenges? Not in a way that means dwelling on worries or anxieties. That's counterproductive.
Right, not catastrophizing.
No, not catastrophizing, but actively thinking through, okay, how would I respond if scenario X happened, or if plan Y hit a snag? It's about building a kind of future memory. You pre-play responses.
It's like an athlete doing visualization before a race, isn't it? They aren't just hoping there won't be any hurdles or tough competitors.
Exactly.
They're mentally running through how they'll navigate those things when they appear, how they'll handle the final sprint if someone's right on their shoulder.
Yes. And doing that makes your brain feel more prepared, more confident when things inevitably don't go exactly according to the initial plan. You're less likely to freeze up or, react poorly under pressure because you've kind of been there mentally already.
Okay, so mental prep, creating future memories, that ties into taking control, doesn't it?
It does. And tied very closely to this preparedness is what you might call activating your CEO mode.
CEO mode, like for your own life.
Exactly. Think about it. With the endless notifications, the urgent emails, the constant demands on your attention, it's incredibly easy to spend your whole day living in the reactive employee part of your brain, just responding to incoming requests.
Putting out fires again.
Right. But your frontal lobe, that strategic, rational planning center of your brain, it needs conscious engagement. It needs you to step up and be the CEO of you, Incorporated.
So how do you flick that switch? How do you activate CEO mode?
It's about deliberately stepping back, especially before a major decision, or right after encountering a significant challenge, instead of that immediate gut reaction.
The frustration or fear we talked about.
Yeah. You pause and you consciously shift. You scan the situation objectively. Like a CEO looking at the data dashboard, not getting caught up emotionally in every single minor fluctuation or fire drill down on the factory floor.
Asking different questions again.
Asking CEO questions. What are the hard facts here? What's the noise? And what's the signal? What's the long-term view? How does this specific event fit into the overall strategy, the bigger picture?
And this isn't just for people actually running companies. This is for navigating your career, your projects, maybe even personal challenges.
Absolutely. It's for designing your life, making conscious choices rather than just being swept along. It's about taking executive control of your own trajectory.
Okay, so we've got emotional sobriety, mental prep, CEO mode. What does that lead to in terms of action?
Well, that strategic perspective, that CEO mode, it naturally leads you towards the discipline of action. But specifically, action characterized by iteration over waiting for perfection.
Ah, the perfection trap. That stops a lot of people, myself included sometimes.
It's a huge one. In the world we're living in now, waiting for the perfect plan, the perfect moment, the perfect product, that's often a surefire guarantee of being left behind. Things move too fast.
So embracing imperfect action, is that the idea?
Exactly. Taking what you might call the minimum viable action. Just get something out there, even if it's small. Get feedback from the real world immediately, and then adjust, adapt, iterate rapidly.
Done and then refined is almost always better than stuck, paralyzed by the pursuit of flawless.
Almost always. When you train your brain, and it's a training process, to see mistakes or things not working out perfectly first time not as failures.
Which feels bad.
Right, which feels bad and makes you want to stop. but instead see them as valuable data points, information that helps you improve your next iteration. When you can do that, you become incredibly adaptable, resilient.
You see that constantly in, say, the tech world, right?
Oh, absolutely. The whole industry, especially software, is largely built on that principle. Quick launches, beta versions, gather real-world user feedback, patch, update, iterate constantly. It's a cycle of learn and adapt.
So applying that iterative mindset to our own challenges and goals.
Yes. Don't wait for perfect. Start now, learn fast, adjust.
Okay, this is all making a lot of sense. It feels like building layers of resilience. But you mentioned something maybe even more transformative.
This is where it gets, I think, really interesting and perhaps the most profound, the kind of ultimate resilience hack, if you will.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
It's the concept of amor fati.
Amor fati, Latin.
Yes. It translates roughly as love your fate or love everything that happened.
Love everything, even the terrible stuff. That sounds hard, maybe even impossible, like passive resignation.
It sounds hard, and it is
Right.
hard, but it's not passive resignation at all. It's actually a very active embrace. It's about consciously choosing to accept everything that occurs in your life, the good, the bad, the unexpected, the painful, as necessary, as essential components of your unique journey.
Necessary, how so?
Necessary in the sense that they happened, they are part of your reality. So when something challenging arises, the immediate internal statement isn't why me or this shouldn't be happening. Instead, it's something more like, okay, this is part of my path. This is exactly what needed to happen for me right now. Now, how do I use it? How do I integrate this into my journey forward?
Wow, that requires a massive shift in perspective. Can you give an example?
Well, think about someone like Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived the Holocaust.
Right, Man's Search for Meaning, incredible book.
Incredible, yes. He found profound meaning and purpose even amidst the most horrific suffering imaginable. He wasn't ignoring the reality of the pain, not at all. But he found a way to integrate it, to use his fate, his experience, to fuel his life's work and his powerful message about meaning.
He wasn't defined by the suffering, but used it.
Exactly. This approach, this amor fati, it doesn't make you numb or uncaring. Quite the opposite. It can make you, in a way, unshakable. Because you stop fighting reality. You stop wasting energy wishing things were different. And instead, you start working with what is. You turn it all into fuel.
So let's bring this all together then. If you, listening right now, have been feeling stuck, like you're pushing but not moving.
It's really not a sign that you're fundamentally limited or that you lack willpower or anything like that. It might just be that the strategies you've been using, and brilliant strategies that probably served you really well before, maybe they're just wired for a slightly different world, a different pace.
Yeah, the operating system needs that update we talked about.
Exactly. Success now, progress now, often comes from consciously updating that internal wiring.
Yeah.
Adapting your internal response to those external pressures and challenges.
So the challenge itself, it isn't just something to be endured or overcome and then forgotten. It's actually an essential part of your journey forward, that thing that stands in the way.
It truly becomes the way. It shows you the path. It forces you to adapt, to grow, to become stronger or more creative.
So here's maybe a final thought for you to carry forward from our conversation today. Consider this. How might consciously choosing to embrace challenges, seeing them not just as things to survive, but as necessary opportunities, how might that fundamentally change not only what you achieve in the world, but also the kind of capable, creative, adaptable, and ultimately, unshakable person you become in the process?
That is a powerful idea to sit with, isn't it? What kind of person do you become when you learn to truly work with everything life throws your way? Something to really think about.